Will anybody break down the green wall?
For Optic Gaming, Legend might be going down as well, but he still gets out of this situation. With not just one kill, but two.
Wait.
Trippy in the 1v1 versus Legend. Somehow Legend wins that one!
Amongst Roster Mania, have any of these teams made the right changes to finally overcome the top two?
Towards top glass. Everyone's moving here. Lucid's by himself, I think, on the A side. He has to get out, and he does somehow. But he's down to no shields. Lucid gets taken out, 49-49. The last kill has to go in. Who's going to get the last kill here? And there it is. It's going to be FaZe. FaZe win it 50-49 in Game 5.
These are the questions we're going to answer today and more in another installment of the Global Gaming Network Power Rankings. What game are we talking about? Of course, it is Halo Infinite. The action has been insane this year, so we've got to break down our top 5 teams to look out for. Joining me today is going to be Mr. Thug Nasty. How are we doing today, Nick?
Doing amazing. Can't wait to talk about some Halo, a game that you and I live, eat, sleep, and breathe.
Yes, we've both been in Halo for a very long time. My name's Eli the Ninja. Been playing Halo since the day it came out, so I can't wait to get into the action. The competitive scene has been more insane than it's been in a long time, but we're going to go ahead and look at our top 5 teams, starting off with number 1. It's going to be Optic Gaming. Anyone that's been paying attention is not surprised by this. They come in with a score of 98. Now, this team to me just has it all, Nick. I feel like Legend specifically is the player I want to highlight. I think that with any other player in this spot, this team might be top 4. But Legend is just that good of a player. He might even be the greatest player to ever do it, and that's a
wow.
That's a tall statement.
You're throwing out statements off the off the rip here.
But it's how I feel when I watch his screen. I just think it's different. He's the most efficient player we've ever seen. His shot is incredible. He probably gets more perfect kills than anyone, and his movement is the best in the game. Is there anything that you can see as a weakness for this Optic Gaming lineup?
No, not a single one. It's kind of crazy going into this off season of last year into this year. I would have thought on paper these are 4 of the top 5 players in the game, and myself, I was a little not necessarily concerned, but was wondering how they were going to put it all together. And off the rip, they've won every single thing that they could get their hands on land, and it's been extremely impressive to watch. And it's just, they are the mountain that everybody's trying to climb up to and reach right now, and myself included. I don't know how we get to that level.
Yeah, 2 back-to-back historic runs as well. Both the last 2 events, they lose in pool play, then they lose in winners round 1 to Shopify both times in a game 5, but then make the losers run with that momentum and then ultimately take it in grand finals. It's been so impressive to watch. But let's go ahead and jump into our number 2 team. That's going to be Shopify Rebellion. Now, this team, I think it was on most people's radar to be the team to beat going into the season. They start off the first LAN with a 2nd place finish, and then also now end up falling in 4th place at the most recent LAN. So this team, I feel like, is still solidly in 2nd, though. It feels like Optic and Shopify, it's simply a step above. The teams they lost to at the last tournament were just FaZe in the winner side, and they didn't really look like themselves in that loss. And then in the lower side, they really didn't look like themselves when Optic was on fire on that lower bracket run. So
yeah,
when it comes to Shopify, do you feel like they should be able to bounce back at the next LAN? Do you see them making it into the grand finals for the rest of the year? What's your take on that?
No, I think they're going to get into the grand finals for the rest of the year, and then once they finally get over that hump, they are going to be the team to beat. Online, there is no question, and I'm not calling them onliners. Let's just stop right there. But what I'm saying is online, they take it so serious. They are the toughest team to scrim, no question about it, and they put people down 14-0, 17-0, every single scrim, and it's that comfortability. And I want to point out last shot and cycle, they necessarily haven't had the Saturday and Sunday reps as Frosty and Royal 2 and Formal and Legend and Renegade and all those individuals. And once they start to see some more of that Saturday and Sunday action, they'll be able to recreate some of that at-home comfort on LAN, and it'll just take over. I had them as the odds-on favorite from the very beginning. I thought they were the first team to get started practicing together as a new roster. They were winning everything online. They were winning qualifiers. They won the Invitational at the beginning of the year, the FaZe Invitational, and they were just looking great. And then ever since, at both majors, Optic has just taken over and shown, hey, we've been here before. We know what to do when it comes to LAN.
Yeah, you make a great point. I feel like from my perspective, watching this team, it's really been Royal 2 and Cycle have been the ones that have been showing up on LAN. We saw Frosty had a great Saturday in Arlington, but then Sunday wasn't really himself, especially that first series of grand finals. And then Last Shot. I feel like we haven't really seen the Last Shot that we know we're capable of seeing on a Sunday just yet. Because this is one of the youngest, most exciting stars in the scene. It's only 19 years old, maybe 20, something like that. But he's incredible. I mean, you watch his individual point of view, and he looks like on some days he could be the best player in the game.
No question about it.
But on Sundays, he hasn't looked like the same. So
exactly.
Like you said, once he figures it out, maybe we'll see Shopify overtake the throne. But that's enough about Shopify. We're going to go into our number 3 team. That's going to be FaZe Clan. Now, this team just changed, but at their first 2 lands, they've got 3rd and 2nd, with the core being Trippy and Penguin. They started out with Falcated and Suppressed. Now going into the next LAN, they're actually going to be with familiar faces, Lucid and, help me out here, who's the 4th?
It's Snakebite.
Snakebite, of course. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, now that this squad is back together, it's basically the Optic from last year, but with Snakebite in place of Formal. I think Snakebite and Formal are pretty similar players, to be completely honest. I think maybe Formal's slightly more of a damage dealer than Snakebite, but I think Snakebite can fill that role, and he can slay out with the best of them when he wants to as well. This team looks really good. Early signs in their scrims show them really putting up a good fight against most teams. I think just last night, actually, they only took 2 or 3 games off of Optic, though, so there was a FaZe Optic scrim last night, and they weren't able to take that many, but it's Optic after all. I think once this team has some more reps, they're going to be one of the top 3 teams for sure. But what's your take? Do you think this team is going to struggle with the roster change, or do you think they'll be better?
No, I think this team is going to be better, and it's kind of crazy saying just after they had a top 2 finish at DreamHack, but I think adding an MVP in Lucid and, in my opinion, the GOAT of Halo in Snakebite is just going to elevate this team to a whole nother level, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do and how they're able to transform in such a short turnaround from one event to another. But something was going on behind the scenes, because for them to make this change, they forfeited their number 2 spot overall and their guaranteed pool play spot for Pool B. So they now have to fight through the qualifiers to see how many points they have to see if they're going to be an auto qual or not. So they have to have a lot of faith in this move.
Yeah, a lot of faith indeed. A lot of drama that went down as well between some of the former players. Shout out to APG. He's always on top of all the drama.
He's breaking it down.
But yeah, fun fact about the FaZe roster, Trippy and Snakebite, 2 of the best HCS fantasy performers of all time.
Okay.
Trippy just broke the record. He was number 1 in fantasy the last 2 LAN tournaments in a row. Snakebite has 5 of the top 7 fantasy performances of all time.
He's nuts.
So it's you put 2 of the fantasy gods on the same team. Are they going to become the most efficient team? We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see. Trippy has really been in form and impressing me this year already. He's insane. But that's enough about FaZe. We're going to jump into number 4 on the list, and that's going to be the team that swapped duos with FaZe. It's going to be SSG. They come in with a score of 73. They got 4th at the first LAN. We kind of knew they were struggling going into that tournament. I think they get 3rd at the Kason LAN, but then they come in, they get top 8 at the most recent major, and it's been tough, man, because that last roster, you just felt like there's so much talent. Every single one of them was a world champion, but they just could not figure it out. Now, though, there's been a lot of talk about how maybe Lucid and Snakebite didn't want to play the same speed that Stellar and Eco wanted to play. Now, Falcated and Suppressed join them, who are both fast and aggressive players, just like Stellar. Do you think that with this new roster, they're going to finally be able to play the speed that they've been wanting to play since the start?
I think they're going to be able to play the speed, but I don't know if it's going to be able to work cohesively together or not. EcoSmith is by far one of the best IGLs in this game, but I just don't know how these 4 pieces are going to come together. It's, again, Falcated and Suppressed are 2 of the best slayers on the planet, but it's just, I thought the same thing when it was the original SSG roster just a couple of months ago. I thought this team has it all. It has Slayers, it has Objective, it has Brains, it has Brawn, it has everything you could ever ask for. And something, again, unfortunately, as we've all seen in the past, it's something behind the scenes hindered their actual performance. And every time we ever played them, I was like, something's just not right here. And I don't think it's necessarily the pace that you were alluding to, but something's going on.
It feels like a vibes problem. I don't know. I don't know if like the vibes are just weird, or Eco and Stellar still hurting a little bit from
Bounded Legend.
Yeah, winning nearly every event last year, and then your two homies leave and join a new team, and now they're the best team.
Yeah.
Like they've got to be feeling some type of way about that. Now, there's some of the greatest competitors to ever do it. I think they'll be able to shake it off, but the question for me is like, how long does that pain last? I've always said pain has a half-life, but it never fully goes away. So they're going to need to figure out how to get over that and to kind of build a new bond with Valkated and Suppress. I think that if they're able to do that, they're going to be a very strong team and a scary one to look out for.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to jump into number 5 on the list. This is by far the most contentious spot. We even had like a tie in our opinion.
Yeah, you have to go to the decimal points on this one.
Yeah, there was even a tie in the opinion of the office. But it was ultimately the placements that put this team ahead. It's going to be Nemesis with 72.5 on the dot for their score. We'll just round it up to 73 for the table, of course. But man, Nemesis is a team that we've got to talk about the number 1 keyboard player in the world. It's Wutum. He's from Finland. He was a former Splitgate Grand Finalist at the World Championship. He's only like 18 years old. It's really exciting to watch his POV. He's kind of proving that mouse and keyboard has a place in Halo.
Yeah.
Despite what some of the commenters say. They say he's cheating. I don't know. I don't really agree with that. But overall, this whole Nemesis team, led by SLG, their IGL, one of the smartest brains in the game. Then you've got Glory and Snipe Drone, who got to be one of the most solid players to ever come out of Europe. I've been so impressed by this squad. I feel like they could beat just about anyone. We saw them upset Optic in Arlington, and then also took Optic to Game 5 in the lower bracket, almost knocked them out in top 12. So if Nemesis shows up, do you feel like they have the chance to break into the top 4?
I really think they do. It's crazy to think, and I would have never thought it until I've gotten so heavily involved into Halo, but different regions play different play styles, and Nemesis has the European Halo down to a science. They like to play fast, they like to play loose, they like to cut mid a lot, and they like to get behind you and steal your objective when you're not paying attention. And it's crazy to see when you have 4 amazing players on that team that can literally beat anybody any day going in or out. It's the other side of it that I want to touch on about this entire list is we have a lot of teams that shook up. We had a lot of teams that stood together. And on the EU side, it's kind of been the same 9 players floating between 2 different rosters. But I think in this past offseason, Nemesis really has landed on the right 4 for them to succeed and maybe take that next step into the top 4, top 3.
That's a great point. And shout out to European Halo. The second team there, Zero Tenacity, actually defeated Nemesis in their most recent online cup.
Yeah.
So interesting to see if that new roster, now featuring Bastos in place of Jimbo, will have put up a better fight. But I still think Nemesis the stronger roster, especially, and they've got more reps in high pressure scenarios against top teams. So I think solidly in number 5. We're going to go ahead and talk about a few honorable mentions, though. I think that this team is obviously going to be near to Nick's heart because he's actually the coach of one of the best teams in Halo, and that's going to be Team Envy. I have been so impressed by this roster. I feel like as soon as Precision and Descendant ended up on the same team together, they have just looked incredible. They've rekindled the duo from that old Complexity roster about a year and a half ago. You're the coach, Nick. So from your perspective, what makes this team so good?
I think it's the comms. I think it's everything. There's nobody that's overly frantic in the comms, and being such a team-based game and people just calling out one shots here and one shots there, left and right, and comms get hectic and crazy and emotions get high. It's the comms for us just stay level the entire time, and we could hear the play calls and the small talk and, hey, go here, flank here, I'm going this way, you're going that way, I'm pulling ball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's able to stay nice and confined and never blows up, and everybody's attitude just stays level keel.
Yeah, I love that. I got to shout out Piggy and Yaxon. Piggy definitely been overlooked for a long time, in my opinion. Finally on a roster that he can kind of prove to everyone what he's capable of. This guy is a damage dealer, a straight shooter. He's incredible. Jackson, young gun, had a come to Jesus moment, change his attitude, and ever since he's been way better of a player and an asset to that squad.
Yeah.
You guys were also a single kill from making top 3 at the last night.
It hurts. It hurts every time we talk about it.
Not
but
to bring up some former trauma, but yeah, the team that you guys ultimately lost to make it to that winners finals was TSM, which might surprise some people that they don't make our top 5 list, but I think they are definitely hurt by consistency. This is a team that historically will get top 4 and then top 12 and then top 4 and then top 12. And it's like, it's hard to solidly place them in the top 5 when they have such volatility.
Agreed.
What do you think it is about TSM that makes them inconsistent? Is it an attitude thing or just a play style is a bit more, unpredictable?
I think it's play style and a little bit of, again, it's been a team that's been together almost since Halo 5, but obviously they've made their share of roster changes as well. And sometimes people are on the outside looking in and it takes a roster shakeup for them to be right back on their toes again. And then they get a little bit comfortable and complacent and then they slip right back down and then they make a roster change and cycle and cycle and cycle. And I think that lives to a lot of the inconsistency. It's when things are riding high and things are going up, they're doing great. But the second things go wrong, they spiral and they spiral hard and they make a roster change and then end up with the same 4 people they've had for the past 5 years.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. They've been going through cycles. I just hope maybe this should be the last time they drop Manny. Manny's been dropped and left behind many times.
Unfortunately, but that's kind of what I was alluding to.
It feels like their attitudes about the thing has changed, though, and they're like, all right, we needed Manny because he is the key that makes this team work. So,
but shout out to TSM in general, just because they're just a great group of guys, and you always see them on the timeline standing over the screens and barking. Tolik's always going crazy, but even after our series against them where we lost by 1 kill, they were like, we were in the back and we were all grabbing our bags and they're like, guys, that was the best series I've ever been a part of. You guys are amazing. And it's like, showing respect like that's not something you see out of a lot of teams, and I'm not going to point any fingers on who.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I love every member of that team. They're also vibey, and we had them on the couch for a while to interview on LVT, and they were some of the best guests that we've ever had. So shout out to them. But that's going to do it for our list. There's one more team that I wanted to shout out, though, and that's going to be Complexity. They've been really kind of surprising some people. In the last HCS Open, they defeated FaZe in the winner's bracket, the new FaZe roster. Of course, it was FaZe's first time playing together with the group of 4, but Complexity kind of made them look silly. It was a clean 3-0, wasn't even close. This roster is, I think, one to look out for. Ryanoob, King Nick, Mental, and Cherished. I think that they've got a ton of talent, and they're going to be a tough squad to beat once they figure out their system. But that's going to do it for the top 5 in Halo Infinite. My name's Eli the Ninja, once again, joined by Thug Nasty. We want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode. We're going to have even more episodes just like this for all the other games, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty likely to be one of our next ones with the Major coming up. So.
We've two coming up next week in the MSI preview and the COD Champs preview.
Okay, so
next week's action-packed.
Yeah, action-packed. Make sure you guys don't miss the next couple episodes. And until next time, we'll see you guys on the other side.